going to talk you through 10 exercises that will help you achieve your splits. I regularly get students asking me, Miss Jessica, how can I get my splits? I don't quite have my left front splits yet, or I don't quite have my middle splits yet. And today we're going to go over 10 simple exercises that you can do every day to achieve your splits. Let's talk about the do's and the don'ts of stretching, especially in your splits. What we do want to do is wait to stretch until after you've completed a workout. So this might look like going for a jog, or finishing a dance class, or going to the gym, something like that. And then and only then do we stretch, because our muscles are warm and ready for a deep stretch. If we do it when we are still cold, we are at greater risk of tearing a muscle and hurting ourselves, and we never want that. What are some of the don'ts? The don'ts are you don't want to do an oversplit. That can be very dangerous. Don't ever let anybody stretch for you, right? So I've seen some instances where friends or teachers will really push on a student. Never let anybody do that to you, okay? You are the only one who can stretch you unless somebody is helping you safely and has been trained to do that properly and safely in more of an encouraging, guiding way, not in a pushing, forceful way. One final don't hang out in your splits for too long. So don't hang out in a stretch for really more than a minute or two. I mean, the optimal time for stretching is about 30 to 60 seconds. If you hang out there longer than that, it could potentially be damaging, and we don't want anyone to get hurt. So without further ado, now enjoy your stretches. So first, let's talk about some of the parts of the body and some of the muscles that are required to achieve your splits. Firstly, and most obviously, you need your hamstring, which is this muscle behind your knee, or between your knee and your butt, right? It's behind your leg. Then you also need your quad, your hip flexors, and your butt, believe it or not, and sometimes even your low back. So we'll go over exercises today that work on all of those things. So first, let's start standing up. Find something that you can hold on to, because this is a one-legged exercise. You're going to grab your foot behind you to get a nice quad stretch, so it stretches the front of your leg. Keep your knees together and stand upright. You should feel a nice stretch in the front of your quad, and if you don't quite feel that, tuck your tail and really lift your upper body. Hold this for about 20 to 30 seconds. And if you're looking for an extra challenge, you can take one hand off and see if you can balance. Good, and then go ahead and try the other leg. Keep those knees together and try to place your heel to your seat. Hold this for another 20 to 30 seconds while keeping those knees together. Excellent. Now come down to sitting on the mat. All right, next we have our hip flexor stretch. So start at the edge of your mat, or if you don't have a mat, go ahead and make sure you're kneeling on something like a pillow or on carpet, just so that it's not so hard on your knees. We'll be kneeling facing toward the opposite end of the mat, and we place one knee in front and we lunge over. Make sure the knee doesn't go past the toes and it stays right above that heel or just before it. You should feel a nice stretch in the front of your hip as we lean forward. And we'll hold this here for another 20 to 30 seconds. Good, and then switch legs. Same thing, make sure that knee, it doesn't go past the toes, and the hip flexor is getting a nice stretch, that front part of your hip. Lean forward if you can. And we'll hold this here for 20 to 30 seconds. that leg in front, doesn't matter which one. You're going to flex the toes or flex the ankle up toward the ceiling. And then I want you to lean forward like a flat back over that leg. This is your half splits. Yeah, so one leg is straight, like you're ready for a split. And you're gonna lean forward as best you can and really stretch out that hamstring, which is that muscle underneath, yeah, on the back side of your leg. You're leaning forward, and this prepares us for our splits, which will also have this leg in front in a straight kneed position. We hold this for the same amount of time. And go ahead and switch legs. Flex the foot to really ensure you're stretching, or you're optimizing the stretch in your calf as well. And lean forward. If you're a little bit more advanced, you can deepen the stretch and go lower with your foot, with that front leg. And think about squaring the hips, yeah? So they're not so open. You're really squaring them off. And we hold that position for about 20 to 30 seconds. Nice long back. So your head is not sagging here. We're not collapsing over the leg. It's a nice long plumb line from the crown of the head to the tail. Excellent. Okay. So that helps prepare us for our front splits. Now let's work on our middle splits. So that is going to be a straddle stretch. So you're lying flat on your bum, and we have our legs out. And if you want an extra challenge, you can flex the feet. But if not, go ahead and keep them pointed. That is also a valid choice. So this might be a challenging position for many. It was for me for a very long time until I practiced these exercises every day. But the first way to go about a straddle is by gently walking your hands forward. Again, try and keep a straight line through your spine, and the crown of the head goes away from the tail. So you might just be here today, then maybe a little bit here, and then if you're more advanced, you can lean forward onto those elbows. Just make sure to keep the knees upright. Yeah, that way you're really using your turnout muscles in your hips. And we'll hold here for a little bit. And when you're ready, gently come back up, and we'll reach the opposite hand to the opposite foot. So we reach up and over and stretch toward that toes, and see if you can reach the toes. If you can't today or tomorrow or next week, don't be discouraged. This is something that you can't really cheat right away. It just takes time and practice and consistency. Good. Now twist your torso so that your sternum and your belly button is facing that leg. So it's a little added stretch for your side, but make sure that hip is planted here. Right? Because it's going to want to come off and roll in, but keep it turned out. And come up, try the other side. We reach up and over, try to reach for the toes. And then twist the torso so that the sternum and the belly button are facing that knee, and lean forward. Good, and come up. Okay, now for your front splits, oftentimes you do need a lot of like hip and butt and low back flexibility. So we're going to practice stretching our glutes. So cross one leg over, it's sort of this pretzel position. You can also go here with a straight leg. Either one is a valid choice. And you're going to try and keep both hip flexors on the floor, grow tall, and twist toward that front leg, that top leg. Excellent, and switch sides. Another way of doing this, or a similar stretch I should say, is going crisscross applesauce with one leg up above the other leg. You can also do this cross-legged, you can do it as sort of a butterfly. It really just kind of depends on where you're at today, or up and over like we just did. And then you're going to lean forward, and that really gets into the hips, in the back of the hips. It's really nice. Good, and switch legs. Okay, now take that top leg and swing it behind you. We're going to do a pigeon stretch. So the front leg is in this bent position. If you study ballet, this is an attitude devant. And the back leg is going to be straight behind you. All right, and an alternative to this would be two bent knees, or double attitude, or double stag for my modern dance friends. Okay, and then you lean forward. And this should be a nice stretch for your inner thighs, maybe even for your butt and your hips, the back of your hips. And then try the other side. So we have that double stag or a pigeon stretch with a straight leg back. Now, if you have difficulty with this particular stretch, I know this one can be difficult for many of you, an alternative is a figure 4 stretch. So we'll go to lying on our backs. And you're going to cross your leg over like you're reading the newspaper and just enjoying a nice Sunday at the park. Then you're going to take both hands and thread your hands underneath the bottom thigh. And notice you're making this number 4 shape here. It's more of a 4 if I straighten the leg. But yeah, this is your figure 4 stretch, and it stretches a muscle called your piriformis, and it should hopefully feel really nice when you tug that leg in gently. And then try the other leg. Alrighty. Now the next two stretches require the use of a TheraBand. So if you have one at home, go ahead and grab it now. Okay, so by now you have your TheraBand, so we're going to practice some exercises that help your splits with a TheraBand. So you're going to go back to lying flat on your back, place the TheraBand on the ball of the foot. You can either have the bottom leg bent or the bottom leg straight. The bottom leg straight just adds a little bit of a challenge sometimes. We have the hands on either end of the TheraBand, and go ahead and straighten that top leg. You can relax the head. So we flex the foot, not too much because you don't want it to come flying back at you, and then gently pull the foot a little bit more toward you. Again, we never want to force a stretch. We just want to gently encourage some stretching and not forcing and pulling or tugging or anything like that. One note, if you are hyperextended, that means your knee tends to bend a little farther than 180 degrees. Go ahead and unlock your knee so it'll feel a little bit bent as you stretch. Otherwise, keep that knee as straight as you can. Gently pull it toward you. Make sure that your hips are square, which means that one isn't hiking up more than the other one. They're nice and in line. And we'll hold this here for about 20 more seconds. release the TheraBand, and we'll place it on the other leg. Same stretch. You should feel a nice stretching sensation in the back of your leg, of the one that is up in the air. Good, and then gently release. For our next stretch, keep the TheraBand on the ball of the foot, and we're going to have the leg down toward the floor, and we turn it out like we're coming into a third position, or excuse me, a first position, or third position, both are turned out. And you're going to lift your leg to the side. Again, it's slightly in front of you because a true second is slightly in front of you as opposed to all the way to the side. So we just keep it slightly in front of us and stretch here. And we hold this for about 20 to 30 seconds. Again, you can keep the knee bent or straight if it's not being stretched right now. And then gently release, lowering it down, and try the other side, the other foot. Okay, same thing. Straighten that leg, turn it out like you're going into a first position, and then we bring the leg a la seconde, or into the second position to the side. It's very important that you maintain your turnout here because that's how you practice it when you're in the center during a bar class. Also, or during a ballet class, excuse me. Also anatomically, you can get your leg higher if the hip is turned out. Whereas if it is in parallel, you cannot get your leg very high, not really past 90, just because of the way your bones are built. And then gently lower it down. And all of those exercises contribute to you getting your full splits. Thanks for watching.